Hi everyone. Thank you for joining. We will just take one more minute just as a couple more people join us. And then we will get kicked off. Right, I think we will get started. Thanks everybody for joining us today for this Road to Redwood webinar. You have got three presenters today from Namos. You've got Sobitha Venkatraman, I'll get that correct, and Katy Baker and Danielle Evans, who are all from our HCM and Solution Architect team. What I will ask is if you do have any questions for our presenters, if you can put them in the Q&A section, which you should all have access to, and then we will either answer them as we go within the Q&A portion, or we will cover them at the end once the presenters have finished. The webinar is being recorded. And you will get a copy of that recording at the end in an email. So I will pass over to Sobitha to get going.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. So welcome to the webinar. My name is Sobitha Venkatraman. I've been with Namos for the last 7 years, and I have quite a good experience in HR modules. So that's about me. So today, to start with the Redwood webinar, as you can see on the screen, this is the agenda for the day. So the first part will be the introduction to Redwood. So we will basically explain you what is Redwood and how this is going to be useful for the customers. And then we will go into the roadmap of the releases. Before and after the RUI to Redwood, like from your older screens or the classic screens to the Redwood, how to get started. Then we have a demo where Daniel will be showing some of the few screens, which will be like an activity. And then synopsis of what is the Visual Builder Studio. And finally, the key takeaways and the resources which you could actually refer to if you decide that you want to go into the Redwood journey. So this is going to be the agenda for today. So the introduction to the Redwood. So basically, again, as you all know, Redwood is a new change which Oracle have introduced. And that is going to be like a UI change. So when I say a UI change, it is a user interface. The look and feel of the users who are using Oracle, they will have a new UI which they would see. And the Redwood has been designed, and the development framework basically aims to reinvent the business process within the Oracle application. It also includes the design principles, the visual elements, and also the patterns to deliver simpler, intuitive, and more responsive UI for the Oracle Cloud products. So again, it is there being across the modules like core HR, payroll, recruitment, time and labor. So again, like it's been there spread across the modules. Why Oracle have done this? So basically, Oracle have introduced Redwood to unify and consolidate the user experience, because now the screens are going to be a bit different to what you have previously seen. So the user experience is really enhanced with the development, using the development of the visual builder rules and all that. So you will be able to really personalize and customize the screen based on the business requirements. Yeah, and basically this Redwood will be useful to the customers. And now we can see how the Redwood will transform the HCM experience. So The first point would be, as I had already mentioned, about the user experience. So it will be an engaging and a modern user experience. So either you use it from your mobile, then you will have a much better or a conversational user interface, and the experience will be really well organized when you get into this new Redwood UI. The second one is efficient and performance interaction. So the pages will really be streamlined. Again, what you could do with Redwood is you can actually sit down, see your business process, and you can actually streamline the pages based on what is your business process. And you can design a single web page, which will be a bit faster, and also a page will actually show you a much streamlined process or the different fields which you want. So you can basically write rules to streamline the business process, and that will really be easier for the user when they are using the, let's say, a grade screen or a position screen. Then that will be really easier for the user to use the screens. And then again, personalized and adaptable. So because we are able to write the business rules using the Visual Builder, this enables the tailoring of the process. And also it establishes the data and the validation rules. So whatever validations we need, the business rules we need, we can write all the rules and then we can publish it on the screen so that the user will be able to see the web page for each of the business process. Again, finally, it is a bit intelligent, where it has a natively embedded AI, and you can also have the nudges and also best actions, and you can interface it with the contextual journey. So when you are creating the journeys in the core HR or any other modules like absence or time and labor, then you can actually, with the Redwood, you can actually enable the contextual journey so that it will guide you how the pages can be used. Yeah. So the next one would be again the roadmap for the releases. So Oracle has actually published the timelines on couple of occasions, like how the roadmap is going to be from 24C till 25 and 26. So basically the clients who are not on the greenfield projects, they are not expected to use the entire Redwood in full until the mid-late of 2025. But the customers who are already live, they can actually move to Redwood or transition to Redwood no later than 25B so that they can use the full functionality. And for most of the clients, there are 3 upgrade cycles from now on. So we advise the customers who are actually on Oracle to grasp this functionality now so that you can get used to it as and when there are changes to the Redwood or whenever there is new enhancements coming up. And based on our implementations and the knowledge on the managed services clients, the readiness to the Redwood is actually a big shift in terms of viewing the page from a user interface, knowledge, and the owners. So definitely it will take a bit of a time to get used to it because it's a new change when you actually open a screen and you have used it on the previous releases, and using it on the Redwood, it is going to be a big shift. So slowly you can get used to the Redwood screens. And again, the entire Redwood is all dependent on the Visual Builder, where now it has a tool to customize your Oracle Cloud offering. And again, with the Visual Builder, because we are writing the rules and the conditions inside the web page and then we are publishing it, it has its own benefits and challenges. But again, with the AI features and almost endless customizations capability, it also presents a challenge for the existing system experts to learn the entire new way of working. So customization no longer means like it doesn't have to be a long process. You could actually, with the Redwood and Visual Builder, it can be quite quick. and you could develop the new pages using the Redwood. And again, what we would advise is it has to be whenever you move into a transition into Redwood, there needs to be a clear communication and also a testing or a rigorous regression testing, which needs to be completed along with the transition so that there is a smooth transition and the self-service users and the specialist will have an enhanced process using the Redwood. So that is one of the takeaway which you could do when you have to transition into Redwood. And with 24C, we have the learning the self-service. So again, with the learning module, you have quite a few enhancements. With 25A, where you have most of the time and labor journey transitions, which they will have. 25B really doesn't have really much of the Redwood releases, but then with 25C, there are quite a lot of Redwood releases from all the modules like global HR, benefits, payroll, absence, talent, and recruiting. And then with 25D, you have compensation. And then again, the 26A has your learning admin experience. So that has been this quarterly releases where the Redwood will be delivered and the availability and timelines. And while we are sharing this PPT, you could see the links to those and you can really go through them to understand when each releases come into place. Yeah, and then we have this next slide, which is about the Redwood UI adoption strategy. So as we mentioned earlier about the regression testing and how do we have to take about when you transition into the Redwood, we have given you the steps which could be followed or suggested, which is a step-by-step process to release the Redwood adoption strategy. So again, the step one would be getting the environment ready, analysis and configuration, then identifying what pages needs to be converted to Redwood, then again doing an impact and assessment with the using the Oracle personalization tool. Then comes the business case. So again, where you want these pages to be changed or pages to be transitioned, and then finalize the development. So, okay, do we have how many modules and how many pages are we going to transition into Redwood? Plan the development, have your test scripts ready, test them, then build the actual changes, again, do a regression test, and then deploy into the production environment. So this would be the strategy. So just to give you a quick example on the HE. So again, with the Redwood payroll UI, which is in December post 24D, the payroll activity center appears and the payroll UI features are released. So however, the earlier pay date and again with the long breaks in the December for the academic staff and even the bank holidays which we have, maybe it's not a great timing, but post year, end of year, there could be this P60s, the year-end Y2Ds deduction, etc. So it will be more meaningful at the end of the tax year and payroll will have completed a key part of this processing and you are able to fully test their administration view of Redwood for the payroll to be confident in the migration. So that is one example for the payroll from the HE. And then again, we also have these with private sector companies like constructions or legal, where again, we have this full feature, or I would say a lot of features on Redwood for 24D, which comes into place for time and labor, and the time cards which needs to be processed for the projects and payroll. So the OTL features which will be released or which has been released and finished in 24B, the differences relating to the integration within the absence module have been noticed in the projects within the projects with Namos are running. So if you use absence integrated to time card, so if you have the project where you have already using the absence, which is integrating to the time card, then with the awareness of the Oracle timelines, we will have to position that in a better way, test them thoroughly, regression test it, and then we'll have to deploy them. And again, whenever we move into these or transition into the Redwood pages, the main part which comes into place is the communication or the comms, which needs to be followed so that the users or the either the end users or the administrators will be able to get or they will get used to the new changes and the experience, because it is a bit or a very different. Yeah. So this is some of the adoption strategy which we would like to follow. And then coming to the next one. Yeah. So I will hand over to Katy, who will then start off with the ready to go guide along with her introduction.
Thanks, Sobitha. So what we wanted to do was give you on a plate what is ready to go with Oracle Redwood, and here's a quick guide. So here for you, we're giving you a traffic light view of essentially what is there delivered, and you can make use of, you can go to the max, but obviously taking on board what Sobitha's been talking about in terms of the adoption plan, very important. But here's the max you can go to, and then we give what is coming soon, and then a little bit further out. So first up, and I will speed through these quite quickly because we have got a lot to cover and there's a lot of slides. But essentially going from earliest connections to the newest payroll flow submission, there's just a huge delivery of landscape and involvement in this space for core HR, absence, OTL, comp and payroll. And this has really advanced the offerings for employee self-service, manager self-service. The key highlights are the introduction of the activity centres, which we will go into a bit more. And as mentioned, Danielle will also do a demo of the team one. And calling out here also, we've got the enterprise and HCM configuration screens. So they are dropping in gradually as well, alongside this huge offering for self-service. So you can see there, I won't step through everything, but you can see there the current capabilities. And moving on to then in the same space, what we've got as known future capabilities. This is the much anticipated payroll activity centre. Joining the suite of activity centres, we're going to really talk quite a lot about these because they're such enablers. We've got the Redwood approval notifications, custom BI templates, just a watch point that they will need to be manually amended to use the Redwood template format. And there's the comp statement and other kind of view flows and things for payroll. So moving on. Same space again, and we move to the kind of little bit further out position, embedding OTBI, BI publisher reports on the Redwood pages. Obviously, as Sobitha explained, there's high capability there in terms of intelligence within the pages that unlock the kind of tailored insights that we see on pages, particularly in the activity centres, and then opening up that possibility of embedding further from a reporting point of view. Moving on then to the recruit, help desk, talent and learn space. We've got the recruitment activity centre, which has been with us a while now, and that is so capable in terms of being able to work with both the responsive existing screens, because obviously we've got a moving position with recruiting overall. And the Redwood pages can lock into that as well. So we've got many candidate focus areas, well and truly starting the evolution for recruiting, along with job requisitions and templates. So a lot there and still more to come. In the talent space, there's a huge array of pages and capabilities, ensuring that these can all be delivered together in a really joined up offering for self-service users. Plus we can see the AI assist introduction of that, which we're already seeing more and more of, and obviously that will leverage further as we go on. Again, we're still in current capabilities here, so we're into Learn, and as you know, obviously Learn was an early piece. So we've got learning for the learners and the managers, and moving into Redwood team learning. Very exciting. Then as we kind of move out for future capabilities, within the recruit space, we then see the filling in, if you like, of all the other kind of pieces of, or a lot of the other pieces of the puzzle as we move into 2025, with the job offer and applications details, creating requisitions as opposed to just using them and seeing them, and the create flows of candidate flows and offers. And then we've got the admin experience as well for Learn. Then what we're expecting later on is blind recruitment, creating events, campaigns, and VBS Express for help desk. And just to complete the circle really for self-service, on the ERP side, I think quite long awaited as well is the procurement requisitioning, with just a quick snapshot of, obviously we won't labour too much on this because we're HCM focused, but here's just a view of the current capabilities for self-service in procurement requisitioning. And this is what we're waiting for in that space as well. So moving on to the explanation really of, and I'm sure you all know a lot, but it's really to bring it front and center, the importance of the kind of different dimensions to the Redwood design system. So we've got new capabilities that are brand new, Redwood, from the ground up. And then we've got the reimagined experiences. So behind this Redwood design system, it's a consumer grade design system, application platform constructed using the design principles of efficiency and consistency. It just provides so much more than just the UI. That it's really unlocking so much in terms of enriching experiences, and then obviously that leads to improved engagement overall, with all users within the system, and the possibilities, and then facilitating greater efficiency and productivity. So with the ground up screens and capabilities that Redwood brings, we're really seeing some very exciting areas. So as we know, they've got built-in intelligence and automation at the heart. We're leveraging Oracle search across the applications and the screens. Key, obviously, that's going to feature later in terms of what Danielle's going to talk about as well, in terms of making sure those prerequisites and essentials are in place with Oracle search, allowing the introduction of generative AI, making the content very intuitive and user-friendly. And we can see this embedded in connections with AI Assist, which allows your role and the work structures data in the organisation in the system to create suggestions for AI Assist in terms of the completion of that, one of the panels within that, and exciting capability for managers with the Create survey. And AI Assist is quite a sort of fundamental within that sort of capability. And then with the reimagined experiences, we've got, obviously, as we've been going through, many of those former responsive pages now having their Redwood equivalents, as we've just been walking through. And essentially, that's facilitating consolidating actions into composite pages. So making sure that we have got a very, very slick user experience, and using kind of screen layouts and functions which give the ability to sort and sift by columns, and that aids usability and speed and efficiency. Quicker search results as part of the underlying framework of the Redwood design system, and providing a high degree of configuration possibilities, validation rules, as Sobitha touched on as well, and really nice to see in reporting insights embedded too, and tailored at that. So that moves us on to activity centres, and essentially the underlying design system is an enabler to delivering these fantastic persona-based driven experiences. These are going to facilitate, or already are facilitating, an array of actions and information required by the key personas. So we see, and the next slide will go into the detail of how Oracle have brought forth these activity centres, and there's still, the story continues, and we'll get into the detail of that. So it's putting everything front and centre. It's a one-stop shop, single location from which you can then leverage and navigate very easily into and digging into things without actually losing your flow of transactional sort of usage of the screen. You can hop into this and hop into that. Modern platform, obviously, as we've said, fewer clicks equals more efficiency equals happier users. So just to go into a bit more detail here, we've got essentially these are personalized hubs. We've talked about the insights, facilitating completion of critical and key activities, along with supporting prompts and reminders, nudges playing a part, reduced number of clicks, like we've said, and same navigation, pull out areas of the sort of sections of the screen to drive into the related and surfaced information without having to re-navigate to a whole new area or research. Really slick navigation. So then that's so what we already have since 24A, originally called My Spotlight. Oracle have nicely brought this in line in terms of naming now, and it's called My Activity Centre. So obviously originally My Spotlight came in 24A. We see this being enhanced. So for employees, it's supporting their day-to-day activities, entering absence, time, giving feedback, updating goals. We see the possibility of embedded banners, which links to HCM Communicate. And essentially that there's a channel there which allows HCM Communicate to create that kind of banner or headway to then give way to the headlines and so on that are coming within that HCM Communicate comms. So then we've got the Team Activity Centre. I won't steal Danielle's thunder. She's going to go into quite a bit of detail with this, but it's really for those, and it really empowering for managers and those with managerial responsibility to perform the management activities productively and keeping close to their team, encouraging engagement and the sentiment within the team. All possibilities. Then for the recruiter, obviously we know that's there and that's continuing to evolve. And exciting, like we touched on, for payroll, activity centre coming in 25A early 2025, as we understand it at the moment, for payroll administrators. And this is really going to transform the payroll admin operational experience. It's going to identify the milestones for each step of the payroll process in one kind of whole view, allowing quickly to be able to zone in, solve errors as they occur, really flagging those milestones with visual indicators, directing those to be able to put the focus in the right place and obviously give the value add elsewhere without kind of sifting through tons of detail. And essentially those small efficiencies over multiple processes within the overall payroll processing diary can free up time and just make the overall experience much more efficient. So this is just a view of my activity centre now. And we've got the ribbon at the top, which provides these places to dip into. And essentially the actions area where we can, again, navigate off and drawers come out and essentially allow that extra activity to then take place. So let's get close up to the before and after position. So I will speed through these, taking a little while to render. We've got just before and after views of sample areas across the piece in HCM. So this is a view of the terminate employment area, where we can see the introduction of the right-hand panel, which gives a sort of a bit more modern feel in terms of showing the user the pathway that they're going to be following. Absence, just a view of the screen there, reimagined. Again, my compensation, before and after. With the payslip view, it's a lot nicer to look at, and we've got a bit of a graphic there as well, and some MI at the top, so quite useful there. With Recruit, we can see this example of the columns and the filtering. So we've got a nice example there of the recruiting activity centre. And job requisitions. Candidate pools, lots of ways to search candidates with the listings and the chips. Going into the talent space, just again, reimagine screens, looking a bit more modern. Much more visual. So with the Redwood Learn, we've got card style views, making this a lot nicer and it's sort of in tune with journeys. We've got the ribbon at the top with the menus, allowing nice and easy filtering. So now I will hand over to Danielle on how to get started.
Good afternoon, everybody. So some of the meat on the bones of this is how do you actually turn Redwood on? What do you do with it in order to connect it to Visual Builder Studio? What considerations might you need to have in order to test this and things like that? So the very first thing you'll want to do with getting started is on the Oracle knowledge base, there's a document that details all Redwood and VBCS profile options required per module. And depending on the pages you wish to convert, you can switch these on alongside the main Redwood profile option. So that would be option number 1. Katy, do you mind pressing the next key? Thank you. And then number 2 would be key to those Redwood pages. Working as expected, there would be some scheduled processes that you'll need to run in order for Oracle Search to work. So Oracle Search is fairly in the last few years new feature, That means turning on some profile option and then also running some scheduled processes. And that's in order to allow your search results to work on Redwood pages and in the universal search at the top. In that same document, you'll find a list of those processes that need to be run post-upgrade and post-clone. Some only need to be run once, and a few of them need to be scheduled. One of them is only optional if your organization is particularly large. The third thing that you would need to do is to create your Visual Builder defaults. So when you connect to Visual Builder Studio for the first time from your dev environment or from your test environment, you'll need to create a project and workspace and all of these things. So there's some setup tasks that you'll need to do as part of that. And then number 4 is checking your custom security roles. So security is more important for the Redwood pages to operate well than it used to mean on the responsive pages. Custom roles, if you have them, will need to be very carefully analysed from the seeded roles to ensure there's no new functionality or security privileges that have been missed in your upgrades. Oracle do provide a release document quarterly that details all the new roles added per security. And that will be really useful for your comparison activities that you might need to perform internally. It might mean that if you have had custom roles that have been unedited for a few years, you might need to take another copy from a seeded role and then amend as required, just to ensure that it's not so far out of date that it's creating more work than it needs to be. So with those 4 parts in place, then what you would be able to do is to switch on some of your key areas in your modules, and I'll be demonstrating that now with my Team Activity Center. So I'll share my screen. And if that's worked correctly, you should be able to see the demo system. So I'm logged in as Curtis Fatey, who's a demo person that Oracle have provided. And in order for me to be in as Curtis and seeing this Team Activity Center, I need to have switched on the Redwood profile option for the Team Activity Center. I need to have run my Oracle search processes. I need to have given him a line manager role, whether that's seeded or custom. And then once I have that access and I click onto the Team Activity Center block in the My Team area, I'm presented with this. Now, for those of you who work on the HCM side of the system, you'll be familiar with the old style screen, My Team. The difference with this is, and it doesn't replace the My Team, it's in supplementary to that. The difference with that page and this one is that there's more of that really good stuff that Katy and Sobitha talked about earlier, that the analytics that are built in, the AI that's incorporated within the Redwood experience, bringing that one-stop shop together, and then all of the useful features around org hierarchies and slicing your data into different sections. So if we just break this page down a little bit, I'm logged in as Curtis. I only have 1 role, so I can't swap between different jobs, but if I did have more than 1, I could change my role here. I get an overview of the statistics related to the employees that I am directly responsible for and a total of how many are in my indirect reporting line. I've got a section below where I can actively search for workers. If there's one person in mind that I need to look for, I can type that in. And I can play about with the filters here. So if I want to change the defaults, maybe I do want to see everybody and not just my direct reports, I can clear that filter, or I can add more. So when I click on the filters, or if you click on actions next to a person's name, you'll get this pop out on the side, and I can filter further. So if I wanted to only see people that are based in, let's say, Chicago, I get a nice little preview of how many people that filter applies to. And it's dynamic as well. So if these aren't relevant, then obviously they won't come up as options. If I want to look at this view in an org hierarchy, all I need to do is click on that button on the screen here, and it'll open up the same organization hierarchy that feeds into connections, which is another fairly new area within the Redwood screens. And again, I can slice this as I need to. If I'm on my previous screen, or if I'm in this org chart, if I click on a name, I'll get these 3 little dots on the right-hand side where I've got my actions that I can choose. If I go back to my Team Activity Center, I want to show you something interesting that has come in with the Redwood screen. If I click onto the 3 little dots here, I'll get a preview of 6 actions, and I can tailor that to my preference. So if I click on View More, Perhaps I'm not interested in the check-in document area, but I do want to know about feedback. If I click off on the little pin symbol and click onto feedback and close that, this updates this list. So I now have that option available to me. So I don't have to click into view more if there's a page I routinely go to. Fundamental to this new experience as well is the communications area. So if you're using journeys or you're using surveys or things to that ilk, those will appear here as your My Team activity center. And if you're just an employee or a contingent worker, if that's relevant to you, then you would also have this communication area where surveys and things that are relevant to you are pushed out to. If I didn't want to see some of these features that you can see on this page, this is where Visual Builder Studio comes in. So I'll just highlight this area here, this switch team bit. I want to turn that off. Now, because I've set up my Visual Builder Studio to be connected to this environment, when I click into this, it will drop me into the already existing project and workspace. So it's already found the one that I want. This is the one I'm a member of. And it'll take a moment just to load the page. But when it does, it'll land on a preview of the page I've just come from. And it'll land in what's called Express mode. So let's just give that a moment. Okay. So it tells me on the top left which page I'm on. It shows me the Express mode here. And if I want to turn off that Switch Team button, it's available as a feature in this Page Property Constants list. So I want to turn that off. So I'm going to change the setting from true to false. And now that button won't be there. And the great thing about this preview is that I can play about with this without risk of other users seeing this until it's ready to be used. And I can do my testing in here. If I want to change other features on this page that aren't in this page properties list, let's say I don't want to see the work location, but I want to change something else, your business rules are your key area where you can do that. So I click into configure fields and regions. And depending on which page you're on, you might have the ability to copy an existing rule or you can create a rule. So you would click create rule, put in your name, and then once that's loaded, then you'll be able to change things like, I don't want to see in the employment details business area, I don't want to see grade code, or I do want to see grade code. Actually, I'm going to change that from hidden to visible. And again, you can cycle through this, check that it's working correctly. And when you're ready to go, you can click publish. Okay. So that's a very quick run through of how to edit a page. There is one thing I would like to show you with the AI Assist, which we referred to in earlier slides. So from that hub area, I'm going to go into new survey and I'm going to create a new survey with AI Assist. And I want it centered around the new hire process. So I type in my prompt. And native to the system, I don't have to pop this into a different screen or anywhere else. I click on the AI Assist button, and what this will do is generate questions relevant to your prompt. And you can edit those. You can add more drop-down options if it's a multiple choice question, or you can delete things, add things in. It's entirely up to you. So you can see here it's suggested some questions. So let's say on this first question, I want to make a change. I'm going to click edit on the question. And I want to take out benefits because I don't want to ask that part. And click save. I now have the 4 options in the multiple choice response type. And if I was to continue and assign that to Curtis Fatey's direct reports, what they would then see on their HCM communication area, that area I mentioned about the journeys and the surveys, that will be pushed to there. I have total control as a manager as to how many times I might want to prompt my staff on that, how many days between each prompt there might be, so they get intelligent nudges on the screen to tell them that there's something for them to complete. So if I was Hope Hightower and as Curtis, I'd pushed a communication out as a survey to her, she'd be able to see it in this area and click start from there. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing for a moment and go back to the slide. So just bear with me while I do that. Okay, I'm going to resume. not letting me select to go to the slide that I want. So I will just do it the old way rather than presenting in Teams. Okay, so let's go through this. So when we talk about Visual Builder Studio, as I mentioned, it sits on top of the Oracle system. And there's terminology that you'll need to get to grips with when you create your first connection. So a project within Visual Builder Studio is essentially a hosting space for your project members to be able to work in, and you only need one of those. So if you've set up your project and you're linking to other environments, not just one dev environment, you can use the same project. A Git repository may be new terminology for you if you're not in the developer space. A Git repository is essentially the code and the files that compile your personalizations. So if I had made that change to hide the switch teams button on that My Team Activity Center, that would be stored in the Git repository. And it's structured like folders and contains notes for history of changes. A workspace sits within your project, and it is a hosting space for your Git repositories, and it holds your personalizations. You can have multiple workspaces if you want, but the advice from Oracle is to just have one. So one project, one workspace. A branch sits within the workspace until, so there's a main branch that's created as a default. And I, as a developer, because I have access to that project in the workspace I'm working in, will also have a branch, which is created automatically when I go into VB for the first time. You can create custom branches as well. So if you're working on, let's say, a particular module and you want multiple developers to be working and pushing work in there before it then goes into your main branch, then you can create custom branches for that. Your environments is essentially your Fusion environment in this example. So you might set this up just to, let's say, your Dev 1 environment. And if you wanted to push that customization work that you've applied to Dev 1 into Dev 2, into Dev 3, into test, into production, you need to link all of those environments into your project. Your builds is a word that kind of encapsulates your package and deploy. So your package, if you think of it in this sense, a bit like Christmas, your package is the wrapping around the present, and the deploy is where you're sending that, so the address. So Father Christmas would pick up your package and deploy it to your house. It takes the published changes and applies it to your environments, and you need a deploy job for each environment you want to personalize. But you can use the same package, so a bit like using the same wrapping paper, but you deploy it to different addresses. Now, the CI/CD pipeline, it's a flow map of your package changes. So it's essentially in pictorial sense, you start, you package, you deploy. You can use that pipeline for your default deployments. If you add in your Dev 2 environment and you want to push the changes out to Dev 2 as well as Dev 1, you don't actually need to do anything further with your pipeline. You can choose to use that or not. You can also entirely switch the whole thing off, and Oracle have given guidance on how to do that and support you if you want to do that. Releases is an optional feature where you can keep track of what features and customizations you've created you're putting into your own release. So if we're talking about the phased approach that Oracle are suggesting we all do, you might want to package all of your changes for one module into a release and then push that all out together. Express mode is Visual Builder Studio with the guardrails. You saw I went into a screen there to make some personalizations. And that is essentially similar to your HCM Design Studio and autocomplete rules, where you can change fields to be shown or hidden, set up conditions on if you have a particular security role, what you should see versus what a person with a different security role should see. And you can alter that with this pre-built validations, constants, and business rules that Oracle have created to sit on top of what was the advanced mode. Advanced mode uses more sort of front-end code. So if you're a developer or you're familiar with that kind of script writing, you could use this, but Oracle do not advise using this for your Redwood personalizations. The only exception to that is HR Help Desk. So we advise you, as well as Oracle do, is to use Express mode for your personalizations. So When you set it up for the first time, you access the Visual Builder Studio in exactly the same way as I did earlier with the Team Activity Center. You go into the name on or the picture on the top right, into Settings and Actions, and if you have access to the VB Studio as a developer or an admin, you'll get this option to edit page in Visual Builder Studio. And you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, it steps you through each of the points that you'll need to create your project, connecting to your environment, creating your Git repository for the first time, creating a workspace, and then it pushes you into that space so that you can get started. So this slide will show you how it's set up. You've got a project home area. Within that, you've got your workspace. Nested within that, you've got your Git repository. So over on the right, you can see the COE demo 2024 Git. When you're doing this across different Fusion products, there's one for HCM, there's one for sales, there's one for ERP, and you can all be working in the same project and workspace without the issue. Not on this screen, but on the separate screen, you'll have your default jobs, so your builds that I referred to earlier, your present packages and your deploy, and the pipeline. So this screenshot shows what that looks like within the project. So you'll have your pipeline, which is your steps as to how that's going to go into your systems, and your default package and deploy. Like if you connected more environments, you can still have just one package job, but you can have multiple deployment jobs for each of your environments, and you would just click on Create Job in order to attach that. So some of the things that we've learned through doing Redwood projects to date are that there are some pages where we've had to revert to responsive, where there's issues that are time or business critical. Now, we've operated mostly in the space of greenfield projects where people are going live with a full HCM implementation at the same time as Redwood releases are coming along. So that's why we have the flexibility with the reversion, but Oracle are never going to put us in a place where we need to use a Redwood page that's not fit for purpose. So we have had to revert, but then over time, as we've raised SRs or had customer connect articles corresponding with Oracle, they fixed those issues, and then features have then been available in a later release. If you do need to work closely with Oracle on any issues that you might come across or features that you'd want to see in a future release, having access to your support through Oracle MOS, that's My Oracle Support, and raising SRs for any issues there, they are very quick to respond. Or if it's a feature that hasn't been available to date, but you'd like to see it, Customer Connect is where you can raise an idea and you can rally around your circles if you've got like an HE forum, connections through different businesses that also use Oracle. Voting on those ideas get more visibility, and then you'll be able to see those things in future. So the Oracle relationship is really key. Where there are features not available, there's usually workarounds. So again, you can do that through SRs and Customer Connect. An example that we had is in some of the flows where you might want to change someone's assignment or change their working hours, you get that questionnaire at the start on the default page in responsive. The same exists in Redwood, and there's not on every page the ability to just flick that on and off, but you can work around it by making the section headers for each of the pages that you want them to complete as part of that flow required and visible or optional and hidden. So then the questionnaire disappears once you've set those on each of the section headers. We would also, and I saw a question in the chat related to this, we would recommend you thoroughly test these changes. So whether you're using the personalization helper tool to move some of your existing personalizations across, or if you're doing things from scratch, definitely test it as if it's an upgrade. So if you've had a release to 24C, whatever test scripts you're using there, use it here. In terms of phasing, we would say deal with it on an impact and a module basis. So where there's features that you want to use, consider the end user's experience. If it's self-service, you switch on first and keep the admin pages till later. That's absolutely fine. Lastly, we would recommend security in VB Studio. So things to do with like managing your main branch to make sure that people aren't pushing things too quickly into your production environments, creating approvals so that you have more than one set of eyes on things, is going to take you to that next step where you're not just doing it in the best way possible, but securing it so that you're not seeing anything unusual go into your environments before you're ready. And on that basis, I'll hand over to Katy. I'm aware of time, so hopefully we have time to go through the questions at the end if people are happy to stick around.
Thanks, Danielle.
Okay.
Okay, so just leaving you with some key takeaways for success. Carefully plan your Redwood adoption and ensure your adoption plan facilitates an incremental approach. It could be seen as overwhelming, but take it step by step. Definitely think about an incremental approach and then harmonize that with what your organization's business cycles are. And try to create that positive impact with your launch of these pages or unveiling of the ground up screens, and ultimately tailor that alongside mitigating any risks to business cycles. Use the Oracle tooling, very important. The Redwood Helper tool will give you essentially what is movable, and then obviously will articulate for you what you can then, or what you would then need to reconstruct. Use the Redwood deep links. So these have been delivered this year, a lot of them have, and by clicking on these, without actually going full into Redwood mode, you can click on them and actually see the Redwood page as it would display and render, and then your data within it. So really, really useful to get just, without actually going to full testing mode. Develop your people to equip them with the Redwood skill sets. So around Visual Builder Studio Express and leveraging the helper tool as well. Keep close keep very close to your environment management. As Danielle was just saying, it will be really important when using those VBS deployment mechanisms to really keep a tight handle on the functionality as it's moving through the different environments. And keep close to the Oracle resources, learning via the COE with the Ready for Redwood talks, webinars, and Let's Talk Tech. Keeping up to date with Customer Connect, and always tagging with Redwood to make sure you're looped in, and also that all the right people are looking at your questions or queries. And here's some resources for you. So key enablers, the Oracle Centre of Excellence, Redwood Knowledge Exchange, excellent area, and some support links, which we'll share with you as well. And that's just a view of the Redwood Knowledge Exchange. Huge amount of resources there. And here we have some help that we could give anybody who wants it. We've got a menu of offerings that we can give, so do get in touch if you need any help from us. So with that, we have reached almost the top of the hour, but we are very happy to stick around and go into the Q&As, or else we will get back in touch and answer your questions directly.
Thanks very much, guys. Thanks, Katy, Danielle, Sobitha. We have got a couple of questions. Sobitha has been answering them as we've gone along, but we can briefly just run through them. So again, there was a question around testing the customizations thoroughly, which Sobitha has gone back and said, yeah, absolutely. And I think, Danielle, you did raise this the way through to absolutely test and test again. A question here from Gary about heavy customizations is now going to bite people on the bottom. I'm going to say bottom, Gary. Anything around that? I mean, again, on the customizations.
Yeah. So do you want to go ahead, Katy?
Okay. Yeah, I might be saying the same thing as you. Yeah, the Redwood Helper tool will express for you very clearly what is movable and portable through the tool itself, through its migrate mode, and then what is not. And I would say, to your point, don't assume that everything's going to be portable. there are many that aren't.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a consideration, and I absolutely echo your point around that you made.
Yeah.
Anything more, Danielle?
Just that there's some areas we already know aren't included in the migration. So if you're using personalization helper tool and you have personalizations on your payroll, time and labor or absence, they don't come across. So you'll have to move those manually if there is a feature in order to personalize. But we know for the absence screens, at least, there's very little that you can do in terms of personalization on those pages at the moment. So yeah, hopefully that answers that question.
Yeah, then just a quick one from Josh. Are OTL functions incorporated in the team activity center, e.g. an overview of claimed time?
There is a team time card area. As to whether it will give you an overview of claim time, I think you might want to use something like a guided journey and embed a report on that page. So we mentioned some of the features we might be expecting would be embedded reports in future. What we do know of is a workaround to use guided journeys to embed OTBI reports. If you can do that and customize that onto the Redwood page, that will get around that issue for now, but there's no way to embed BI publisher reports in the pages any longer. So there might be several Customer Connect ideas open related to that. If we find any, we can share them.
Great. And then final question, is Namos offering any training on how to use VB Studio? And that's come from a couple of people.
Yes, there is. I think we just briefly touched on that with the accelerator packages. So I'll put those back on screen if anyone's interested. That would be the red package. If you wanted to have a bit of training and then some assistance with specific modules, you can scale whichever package you'd like to go for based on what your needs are. So you could maybe say, can you migrate all of our time and labor module for us? You could use the gold package, and we'll do the rest as a client yourselves. If you wanted to do the other modules for yourselves, you might just have the red package, gold for time and labor, and then continue with the rest now that you've had the enabler training and we've moved your time critical module for you.
Brilliant. We are just slightly over time, so thank you everyone for joining. You will get the slides. I will send them through, and you should also get oh, sorry, completely lost there. A copy of the video. And Arthur, I've just seen your final question, so we will answer that on chat for you, so that you get an answer to that. So thank you very much, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.